to see the two worst words associated with the National Basketball Association right now is load management. That's the two words that has greatly assisted the NBA in falling from grace.
The Indiana Fever front office could be making one of the most tone-deaf, self-contradicting, and financially dangerous decisions in modern professional sports. And the optics are getting harder to ignore. Across their social media, website, and marketing channels, they are aggressively promoting ticket sales, group packages, and premium game day experiences, while plastering Caitlin Clark's name, an image everywhere to pull in the biggest possible audience. Yet in the same breath, they appear to be steering the team in a direction that reduces or controls the offense, bringing in additional backcourt talent and floating cautious load management ideas for a 24-year-old generational star in a short season. For a player who is coming off injury setbacks but just showcased elite form on the international stage and is clearly eager to compete, the messaging feels inconsistent at best and alienating at worst. Fans are left watching a franchise heavily monetize a superstar's popularity while simultaneously signaling a shift that could limit her impact on the floor. Now, the organization seems surprised by the growing hesitation from supporters, slowing demand, and rising online backlash. This is Wnba Pro, your unfiltered source for elite-level analysis. And the situation in Indiana is quickly turning into a case study in how misaligned strategy can put even the brightest spotlight at risk.
They're going to load manage Caitlin Clark, and we'll get to the fact that the Fever are still putting up their little social media posts about buying tickets. And when I tell you, that has got swatted down by fans of Caitlin Clark like Dikembe Mutombo is playing defense going, I mean, rejected back into the stands. Playoff ball, load management. This is starting to sound like a night.
The fan backlash is intensifying, patience is wearing thin, and the Indiana Fever front office is clearly under mounting pressure after chaotic and controversial draft week. General Manager Amber Cox was sent out to address the local media and steady the situation, tasked with calming frustrated fans, reshaping the narrative, and defending the decision to draft yet another guard when many believed the roster needed more front-court strength. However, instead of easing concerns, her carefully polished corporate messaging raised even more questions, especially when she described rookie Raven Johnson, primarily a point guard in college, as a player who can transition into a combo guard role. That single word has become the focal point. In professional basketball, language is never accidental, and transition strongly suggests a planned shift in usage rather than a simple backup role. A combo guard is expected to both initiate offense and operate off the ball, which immediately raises a question of how rotations will actually look in practice. With Kelsey Mitchell firmly established as a scoring guard rather than a primary initiator, attention naturally turns to Caitlin Clark, the only true full-time floor general currently controlling the offense. If Johnson is being developed to share ball-handling duties alongside other guards, it signals a redistribution of responsibilities that could reduce Clark's time as the sole decision-maker. That inevitably leads to concern about how her elite playmaking production will be used within a shared system rather than a centralized one. Cox's additional claim that Johnson was the best player available at pick 10 only adds more fuel to the debate, leaving fans parsing every word and every implication for what it means moving forward.
I got sent this by Evelyn DR right here. She sent me this. On Monday, before the draft, Raven Johnson signed a multi-year deal with Adidas. Right here. For them shoes. Yikes. Talk about clown show shoes. Anyway, for those shoes, there is not a world where you will convince me that Raven Johnson didn't already know she was going to get drafted by the Fever. This wasn't...
Raven Johnson's reported multi-year Adidas deal right before draft night has only intensified speculation about how coordinated this entire process really was. In the sports business world, timing like that rarely happens in isolation. Major brand investments usually align with strong internal signals about draft positioning, role expectations, and media market exposure. Whether coincidence or calculation, the optics suggest a tightly synchronized plan between marketing strategy and roster construction, especially as everything appears to line up with the messaging coming from the Indiana Fever leadership. Head coach Stephanie White and GM Amber Cox have both repeatedly emphasized versatility, shared ball handling responsibilities, and the ability for guard to operate both on and off the ball. Taken individually, those comments sound standard. Taken together, they paint a clear philosophical shift toward more distributed offensive structure. The concern among fans is that this shift naturally reduces Caitlin Clark's constant control of the offense, replacing a singular, heliocentric system with a committee approach where multiple guards initiate possessions. The organization has also leaned heavily on load management as a framing device, but in basketball terms, true load management refers to rest and workload control, not redefining a player's on-court role. That distinction matters because what is being described publicly is not simply reduced minutes, but potentially reduced ball dominance during those minutes. Clark's elite playmaking impact comes from her ability to dictate tempo and orchestrate every possession. And any system that disperses that responsibility inevitably changes her statistical and stylistic footprint. While protecting a franchise cornerstone after an injury-heavy season is a legitimate priority, there's a fine line between preservation and restriction. One approach maintains her identity while managing fatigue. The other risks diluting the very skill set that makes her generational. Meanwhile, broader roster decisions and developmental contracts are only adding to perception that the franchise is prioritizing structure and experimentation over continuity, leaving fans to question whether the long-term vision aligns with the player who defines the entire organization.
Out. Will she be starting playing point guard and not load managed? Limited minutes? Question mark. CDS, we all want to know. We all want to know. Nah, not watching. Especially after I heard Stephanie White repeating the story about load managing CC. Fudge. I almost said it, folks. Almost went straight mother effer right here. She'll be traded before the opening day. Hell yes. Guys, I got to tell you, I wish that Houston franchise was already going. All right, Tillman Fertitta.
There's a major flaw in that explanation, and it starts with how the roster math is being framed. In a tightly managed WNBA roster structure, every spot is precious, and front offices are constantly forced to make trade-offs. But the idea that a loophole alone explains the situation oversimplifies a much bigger roster construction issue. The reality is that any contending team in the league, whether it's the New York Liberty needing front court size or the Las Vegas Aces adjusting for spacing, would absolutely evaluate and potentially claim a promising young player if she fits a clear positional need. That's how competitive balance works in a league with limited roster spots and constant pressure to optimize depth. The deeper concern being raised is not just about one player's contract status, but about overall roster balance. When a team accumulates multiple guard with overlapping skill sets while leaving thin coverage in the front court, it creates structural imbalance, limited interior size, reduced rebounding presence, and added pressure on existing bigs like Aaliyah Boston to anchor both ends of the floor without consistent support. In that scenario, decision-making becomes less about individual talent and more about how pieces actually fit together on a 48-minute chessboard. From a pure basketball standpoint, spacing and defensive reactions would be heavily affected by how possessions are initiated. If a secondary guard brings the ball up rather than a primary offensive engine like Caitlin Clark, defenses will adjust accordingly, limiting respect on perimeter, shrinking driving lanes, and loading the paint. Elite defenses in the WNBA are quick to scout tendencies and exploit any lack of shooting gravity or playmaking threat at the point of attack. That ripple effect doesn't just impact one player. It changes the geometry of the entire offense, forcing tougher shots and reducing transition opportunities. At the same time, off-ball usage patterns matter. If opposing teams can aggressively deny passing lanes and physically disrupt movement off the ball, it reduces offensive fluidity and forces half-court isolation sets under pressure. That's where spacing either becomes a strength or collapses entirely, depending on personnel fit and role clarity. On the strategic side, this all comes down to philosophy. Whether a coaching staff prioritizes system structure or maximizes elite individual creation. Some coaches lean heavily into discipline, defense-first frameworks designed to control tempo and reduce variance. Others build entirely around generational offensive creators and allow them to dictate flow. The tension between those approaches is where most roster debates actually live. And that's ultimately why fan reaction is so intense right now. It's not just about transactions or contracts, but about whether the on-court identity being built actually matches the talent that drives the franchise's visibility, production, and future.
Evelyn DR, no thanks, I'm good. Caitlin isn't your priority, and it shows. We spent thousands last season just to watch her get iced out. No screens, no plays, just standing there in the corner like a decoy. And now the coach thinks she's a combo guard. Hell, Evelyn, she gonna put her in small forward. She may play center before the season's out. Will she be starting playing point guard and not load managed? Limited minutes? Question mark. CDS, we all want to know. We all want to know. Nah, not watching.
Fan frustration is reaching a boiling point, and the core message from supporters is becoming impossible to ignore. People are not paying premium prices to watch a superstar used as a decoy while others control the offense. Fans are investing in Caitlin Clark for what she uniquely brings: elite transition pace, deep range shooting, and rare playmaking vision that generates open looks and electrifies every possession. That is the product driving attention, ratings, and ticket demand. From a basic economic standpoint, if a premium entertainment product changes its core offering, it cannot reasonably expect the same level of demand at the same price point. It's no different than a restaurant altering its signature dish and assuming customers will still line up for the same experience. The central tension is that the marketing still heavily leans on Clark's star power, while the messaging around basketball strategy increasingly emphasizes shared roles, versatility, and reduced on-ball usage. That creates a disconnect between what is being sold and what fans fear they may actually see on the court. In sports business terms, that's a branding risk, because the demand is not just for the team, but for a specific style of play tied to a specific player's dominance with the ball in her hands. Historically, successful franchises don't diminish generational creators. They optimize everything around them. The Golden State Warriors didn't remove Stephen Curry from ball-handling duties. They built spacing, movement, and personnel to amplify his gravity. The Dallas Mavericks don't strip Luka Doncic of control. They construct complementary systems that enhance his heliocentric strengths. Championship-level team building typically revolves around maximizing elite offensive engines while managing workload through minutes, rotations, and supporting depth, not by fundamentally reducing a player's offensive responsibility. That's why the current debate feels so intense. It isn't just about roster decisions, but about identity. Fans are reacting to a perceived gap between what is being marketed and what might be implemented on the floor. And in professional sports, that alignment is everything. Because when expectation and reality diverge too far, trust erodes quickly. Training camp will ultimately provide clarity. Because once the system is implemented on the court, the results will speak louder than any press conference or marketing campaign.